My name is Reagan Voss, and I am 34 years old. 6 hours ago, I served my own father an eviction notice at his own anniversary party in a house he no longer owned. There was a string quartet playing when the police walked in, champagne in every hand. My mother's face went the color of the tablecloth. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. I just handed him the folder and watched 30 years of "You're not part of us" come adieu, with interest. Before I tell you what happened, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story resonates with you. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. Beat 3, the rewind and the abuse. Ow. Let me take you back to when I was 22. I want to start with the shoebox, because that's where it actually starts. Even though nobody in my family would tell you that. We were clearing out a storage unit my father had rented since before I was born, the kind of unit you keep paying for out of guilt, not need. Behind a stack of water-damaged photo albums, I found a manila folder gone soft at the corners. Inside it, a 1,994 bankruptcy filing. Voss Marine Supply. Chapter 7. My father's name on every page. I'd never heard of it. Not once. In 22 years. That night at dinner, I made the mistake of bringing it up, casually, like it was just an interesting artifact. My father didn't yell. He just set his fork down very precisely. The way he did when he was about to say something he considered final. "You weren't born yet," he said. "So you don't get an opinion on it." I remember the smell of the pot roast more than I remember what came after burnt onions. Always a little burnt. Because my mother never trusted the timer. That's the kind of detail that doesn't matter to anything. I just remember it. What I understand now, and didn't then, is that the marina business collapse actually explains him. Not excuses him, explains him. He watched everything he built get auctioned off in a parking lot in Wilmington, Delaware, in the summer of '94, and he decided, somewhere in there, that the only way to survive was to make sure the family's money lived in exactly one place, controlled by exactly one person, forever. He wasn't hoarding out of malice. He was hoarding out of a 28-year-old fear that never got old with him. He genuinely believed that if the assets stayed concentrated, stayed protected, stayed safe, the family would never lose a house in a parking lot auction again. He just picked the wrong person to trust with that safety. And he never once considered it might be me. I watched him count the cash box after church fundraisers twice, sometimes 3 times, alone in the kitchen, with the door mostly closed, long after the family had, by any outside measure, become comfortable again. "Paper promises aren't paper money," he used to mutter. I don't think he knew I could hear him. The first real humiliation I can point to happened the night my law school acceptance letter arrived. I'd put it on the table like an offering, next to the salt shaker, because I didn't know how else to bring it up without it seeming like I was asking for something. Which, of course, I was. My father read it, nodded once, and slid it back across the table without really looking at me. "Your brother's DUI lawyer needs a retainer by Friday," he said. "That's the conversation we're having tonight." I asked, quietly, if there was any way to help with the tuition gap, even just the first semester, even just a loan I'd pay back myself. He looked at me the way you look at something slightly confusing on a menu. "You don't know because you are not part of us," he said. "You can stay behind and take care of all the kids." I was 22. I did not have any kids to take care of. I think he meant it as a kind of role, the responsible one. The one who stays. The understudy nobody auditions for. I said nothing. My mother refilled water glasses that didn't need refilling. The second humiliation came about a year later, at my brother Trent's launch party for his consulting firm, which had exactly one client and $11,000 of borrowed capital. Most of it, though nobody knew this, yet mine. My father introduced me to a circle of his old business contacts. "This is Reagan," he said, and hand on my shoulder like I was a display item. "Our free lawyer. Still in training? But she'll get there." Everyone laughed. I laughed, too. I don't know why that's the detail I remember hardest, not the words. Just that I laughed. Ennui. Like a trained thing. The third one is smaller and somehow the one that still catches in my throat. I was in my second year of law school. Broke, in a specific, humming, low-grade way that never fully goes away once you've lived in it. My mother called and said, in the tired voice she used for money conversations, that things were tight, that they might not make the mortgage that month. Could I possibly help? I could see the account balance. I had limited power of attorney by then. mostly for medical paperwork. And I'd glanced at the linked accounts more out of boredom than suspicion. There was no tight. There was, in fact, a very recent transfer of $18,000 into an account with Trent's name on it. I sent $400 anyway. I didn't say anything. I still don't fully know why. Here's how the weapon actually got built. Because I think people skip this part when they tell stories like mine. And it's the part that matters most. Year 1 of law school. I worked nights at a title insurance company downtown, doing the unglamorous work of chasing down lien histories and property records, the kind of job nobody wants that teaches you, without meaning to, exactly how real estate paperwork actually moves through a county recorder's office. I didn't know yet that I'd need it. Year 3. I passed the bar and took an associate position at a small trusts and estates firm, for less money than I could have made elsewhere. Because the hours let me keep handling my parents' paperwork, informally, unpaid. The family lawyer. Nobody called a lawyer. Year 4. My father had a minor stroke scare. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to frighten him. In the hospital waiting room, groggy with relief, he asked me, not Trent, to become his financial power of attorney. "You're the only one who understands the forms," he said, like it was a compliment. I think, in his mind, it was. The very thing that had kept me on the outside my whole life being the practical one, the boring one, the one who reads contracts for fun, was the thing that finally, quietly, handed me the keys. Year 6. My father took out a business loan against the house, cross-collateralized against a second property Trent had his name on. I begged him in writing not to do it. I still have the email, time-stamped, unread receipt and all. He did it anyway. I co-signed as guarantor, because the alternative was watching them get eaten alive by a predatory lender who'd already called twice that week. That loan is the document I would hand my father. Years later, at a dinner with a string quartet, I want to tell you about the summer the laptop died, because I think it's the closest thing to the truth of what that decade actually cost. It was August, a blackout summer, the kind where the whole grid seems to groan under its own weight. My studio apartment had no air conditioning and hadn't for 2 years. On principle, because AC was $40 extra I didn't have. The laptop held the only drafts of a guardianship filing I'd been building for months, nothing backed up anywhere else. Because backup drives cost money I also didn't have. It died on a Tuesday. Just a small click. And then nothing. I retyped 40 pages by hand that night. From memory and a burned CD I'd made months earlier out of some instinct I still don't fully understand. Sitting on a plastic stool in a 24-hour laundromat, 3 blocks from my apartment, because it was the only outlet with power that wasn't mine to lose. The dryers running kept me company. I remember the smell of fabric softener more clearly than I remember most of law school. The second thing I gave up that same year was smaller. In theory, I skipped my only bar exam prep course, the one I'd saved for 8 months to afford to fly home for a family emergency, which turned out to be Trent's second DUI. Nobody in that airport, in that courthouse, in that family, asked what I'd missed to be there. I don't remember if it was raining the night I got the call about it. I just remember his voice on the phone, flat, asking if I could handle it. Like handling it was simply what I was for, I thought, for a long time. About what it would have meant to say no. I never did find out. I want to pause here for a second. If your own family gaslit you, for years told you they were broke while quietly moving everything into your sibling's name, what would you do? Would you have signed that loan? Drop a comment below and tell me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the button now. Because what happens next, at that dinner table, changes everything. The dining room smelled like candle wax and lilies when I walked back in. My father was mid-toast, glass raised, voice pitched for the back row. And this year, he was saying, we decided, on a whim, just an impulsive little getaway, to take the whole family to Hawaii. 4 steps in, no one noticed yet. 6 steps. A woman near the bar turned first. I walked past the string quartet, past 112 guests. I counted them earlier, off the seating chart. Because counting things has always calmed me, and I stopped directly beside him. He kept talking. Something about the ocean view. Something about how wealth finds a way. I set the folder on the table next to his champagne glass. He looked down, then at me. Reagan. Not now. Now, I said. I placed the first document in his hand. Notice of default. Loan 4.471 A. 94 days past due. I place the second. Cease and desist. I place the third. Notice of eviction. Effective immediately. A server near the kitchen door nearly dropped a tray of champagne flutes. Caught it. No one looked at her. She stood there, a full 3 seconds. Tray shaking, before setting it down. My father's face did something I'd never seen it do before. It emptied out. "This is a misunderstanding," he said. Too loud. The toast voice cracking under itself. "Loan number 4471A, I said. "Personally guaranteed by me. At your request. 6 years ago. You are 94 days in default. I revoked my power of attorney at 9 a.m. this morning. The bank foreclosed at 11:15. Somewhere behind me, a fork stopped halfway to someone's mouth and just stayed there. My mother's hand went to her throat. She understood before he did. I watched it land on her, not confusion. Comprehension. The particular kind that arrives too late to matter. "You can't do this," my father said. "This is our house." "It hasn't been your house since 11:15 this morning," I said. "Technically, right now, you're trespassing." A great aunt near the window had her phone up, recording, her face still arranged in party smile, not yet understanding what she was filming. 2 officers came through the front entrance. Quiet. Unhurried. The way people move when the paperwork's already been filed and there's nothing left to argue. My mother started to cry. Not loudly. Just a slow leak. The kind that comes when a person finally does the math. The officer said something to my father about the property. About needing them to gather personal belongings. About a vehicle waiting outside. My father looked at me the entire time they said it. Like, if he stared hard enough, the words would change. They didn't. As they walked him toward the door, past the quartet that had, at some point, simply stopped playing. I leaned in close enough that only he could hear it. "You were right, Dad," I said. "I'm not part of you. And since you're not part of my property anymore, I suggest you stay behind and figure out who is going to take care of you now." He didn't answer. I don't think he had one. The house went to auction 11 weeks later. Final sale price. $410,000 under what my parents had once told guests it was. Easily worth. 3 investors who'd been at that dinner pulled out of Trent's second funding round within the month. One sent a 2-line email citing reputational exposure. I never learned what the other 2 said. Because nobody told me. And I never asked. Trent lost the second property 4 weeks after that. The one nobody at the party knew was also cross-collateralized against the same loan. He moved in with a friend from college. The consulting firm, the one with $11,000 of borrowed capital and 1 client, folded before the year was out. My mother called twice. 11 days apart. I saw both numbers light up my phone and I let them go to voicemail. I thought about calling her back after the second one. I didn't. My father tried once. Through a lawyer. Not to reconcile but to ask whether I'd consider restructuring the default. I had my assistant reply with a single line. "All correspondence should go through counsel." I don't know if that stung him. I don't think about it enough to wonder. I opened my own practice 8 months later. Small office. 2 rooms. My name on the door in gold vinyl letters. I put up myself because the sign guy wanted $300. I didn't feel like spending. There's a shelf behind my desk. On it sits my bar admission certificate. Framed. A little crooked because I never got around to fixing it. Next to it, there's a burned CD in a cracked plastic case. The one from the laundromat. 40 pages of a filing I retyped by hand, one blackout summer. On a stool. Next to a dryer that never stopped running. I don't explain it to clients when they ask. I just tell them it's from a long time ago. If this story touched you, hit the like button. Tell me your story in the comments. Subscribe for more. And check the description for the next story. Take care of yourself.